So we can proceed. So very good evening to all of you. Respected chairperson, Sir Dr. Dipen Soikia, chairperson of this 7-day-long national workshop on human rights education, issues and challenges in Northeast India. And respected Honorable Director, Sir, Professor Bhagavati Panda, Professor of Economics and Director of ICSR and NERC Shillong, and today's chief guest. And the guest of honor, Professor D.B. Subedi, postdoctoral fellow from University of New England, Australia. Invited guest, Dr. Sukhdev Adhikari, sir, Principal of Aloketi College, Dhekiajuli, Dr. Lilakanto Borthakur, Principal of Morigaon College, and our chief advisor, Dr. Anil Soikia, sir, respected coordinator, Dr. Dugesh Das, assistant coordinator, member of the organizing committee, member of Center for Ethnic Studies and Research, faculty members of a collaborating organization. It means members of this Morigaon College, and teaching staff and non-teaching staff of Moridlu College, Dhemaji, and all the esteemed participants. I, on behalf of our this organizing committee, welcome you all to this valedictory session. So as you all know that we have altogether we have 6 working days for this workshop we have completed, and today it is the valedictory session. In this session, we are going to start with a speech from our chairperson, Dr. Dipen Soikia, sir. I would like to request Dr. Dipen Soikia, sir, to start the program. Thank you.
Thank you, Dash. Respected Chief Advisor, Dr. Anil Soikia, sir, ICSSR, NERC Director Panda, sir, Professor D.B. Subedi, sir, University of England, Australia, Dr. Sukhdev Adhikari, sir, Principal Aloketi College, Dhekiajuli, Dr. Lila Borthakur, Principal, Moridlu College, and learned participants. First of all, I would like to congratulate all the participants for successful completion of ICSSR sponsored week-long workshop on human rights education, issues and challenges, organized by CESR Guwahati in collaboration with Department of Political Science, Moridlu College, and Department of Political Science, Morigaon College. Hope you all enjoyed the workshop, as the resource persons of this workshop is very resourceful. In this auspicious occasion, I extend my heartfelt thanks and gratitude to all the resource persons for their resourceful deliberation on the topic of the workshop and exceptional interaction with the participants. Friends, to complete a week-long workshop in online mode is very difficult. In spite of these difficulties, you have completed this workshop very successfully. So I once again would like to extend my sincere thanks to all of you. In this auspicious occasion, I would like to confer our gratitude and sincere thanks to ICSSR NERC for their continuous support to organize such type of workshop. I also extend my heartfelt thanks and gratitude to one and all whose cooperation, directly or indirectly, for successful conducting the workshop. At last, not the least, I would like to extend my thanks and gratitude to the organizers for organizing such type of workshop on important issues. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Dipen Soikia, sir, for your welcome speech. Thanks once again. So now we are going to listen a few words from our chief advisor, Dr. Anil Soikia, sir, retired principal of Moran College, and also our chief advisor. Now may I request Dr. Anil Soikia, sir, to speak a few words on the occasion. Thank you. Dr. Anil Soikia, sir.
Good afternoon to all. Yes, Honorary Director ICSR Shillong, Professor D.B. Subedi, and Dr. Dipen Soikia, and the Principal of Moridlu College and Morigaon College, my dear friend Dr. Sukhdev Adhikari. I welcome all these dignitaries to this noble occasion, and it is a grand success of 6 days workshop on the human right. Yes, we should have conscious on human rights. Yes, we should be we reacted with the human right, how it is violated. Anyway, all these topics are discussed threadbarely in this workshop. I again welcome all the participants and our honorary director ICSSR Shillong for his noble cooperation on this noble occasion. I again thankful to Dr. Devi Shubedi. In spite of his busy schedule from Australia, he is here and attended this seminar that is done in Assam. Thank you once again. So kind of you.
Thank you, Dr. Anil Sakia, sir. Thank you very much for your this speech. Now, I would like to request our chief guest of this session, Professor Bhagirathi Panda, sir, ICSSR NERC's director, as well as a professor of economics, to deliver his speech. Before his deliberation, I would like to introduce him before you. May I request Professor Josna Hazarika, madam, to introduce
Dr. Dipen, actually, you have already introduced me in the inaugural session, so I think I don't require any more introduction. I think
Okay.
it's already. I think straight we can. I think go to the address and all that.
Okay,
No?
sir. Okay. But few participants late.
Maybe one. Okay, maybe 1 or 2 lines. Okay, that will do. Okay. Okay. Yeah, please go ahead. Please go ahead.
Okay. I'd like to request Josna Hazarika, madam, to speak few words about our chief guest. Josna Hazarika, madam. Josna Hazarika, madam, are you here?
Yes, Dipen.
Yeah.
Little bit problem I'm having here in my network.
Okay.
So
Okay.
as sir has said, our respectable honorary director ICSS Shillong, that we have already introduced him. So I wholeheartedly welcome him today, this evening, just to grace the occasion. So sir, may I have you all in this particular platform, sir? Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. One also there is a request for you, sir. So we have developed one website for the CSR.
Okay.
Here I would like to take the opportunity to launch it through you, sir. Thank you.
Okay, I think myself and Professor Subedi and others, all of us join.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So how do you plan it? You will, I think, on the screen you will be showing website or
Sir, you can share it, sir. You can share it from your side.
my side.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or else, if you're, I think from your side you can show it also. That would be nice. So should I click it or what? Or I just say what? That's all.
Sir, you can say something. Okay, sir.
Okay, fine.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Dr. Dipen, and all the team of organizers, and then Professor Subedi, I think the guest of honor here, respected principals who are from different colleges of Assam and beyond, research persons, research scholars, faculties, ladies and gentlemen. It's an honor on my part. It's a privilege and honor on my part to inaugurate the website of the center. So I, along with all the guests here itself, Professor Subedi, all the principals, the organizers, I think it's honor on all our part to inaugurate this website. And I hope actually in days to come, through this website, I think we can reach out to more and more academicians, policymakers, and we can connect also with our research scholars. So I feel and I'm sure and I expect that in days to come, I think your interaction with the academic community all across the globe will be seamless. So with these few words, I once again, along with all my guests here itself, inaugurate this website of your center. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much for your this inauguration program. Now, I would like to request our invited guest of honor, Professor D.V. Subedi, sir, to deliver his presentation. And before sir's presentation, I'd like to request Josna Hazarika Madam to introduce our guest of honor, sir.
Namaskar. Thank you, Dr. Dipenda. I, on behalf of Center for Ethnic Studies and Research, welcomes Dr. D.B. Sabedi. Dr. D.B. is present among us this evening as our guest of honor. So may I now introduce Dr. D.B. He is a research fellow and lecturer in sociology and peace studies in the School of Humanities, Arts and Social Science at the University of New England in Australia. Previously, he was a lecturer in politics and international relations at the University of South Pacific in Fiji. He is also a senior fellow at the Center for Security Governance in Canada. He is also book review editor of Global Change, Peace and Security Journal, and also the coordinator of the Asia Pacific Network based at the University of New England in Australia. Before coming to the academia in 2010, Dr. Subedi worked in community development and social change in Asia, especially Nepal, Sri Lanka, and Vietnam. His research interests are peace and security, populism and nationalism, countering violent extremism, human rights reconciliation, religion, and politics. He has conducted extensive field work in Nepal, Sri Lanka, Myanmar, and the South Pacific region, and has extensively published his work as an academic, monograph, journal articles, and policy briefing papers. Sir, we are really very much thankful enough having you among us this evening. Sir, we are highly thankful now. And so now, may I request you to share the virtual platform. Over to you, sir. We are here to listen to you.
Thank you. Thank you, Jyotsna Hazarika. Thank you for
Thank you
a
so
very
much.
generous introduction. I feel really privileged to be here in this evening with you all. Dear colleagues in Center for Ethnic Studies and Research, Professor Panda, dear principals from different colleges in Assam and other parts of that region of that country, participants of this week-long workshop on human rights, resource persons, and all the distinguished personalities who made this workshop possible and are successful even today. Although it is almost midnight here in Australia, I was really anxiously expecting, waiting for this moment here, not just because I'm a scholar, I'm a researcher of human rights is one area of my research work. And I do my research and my teaching and research focuses particularly South Asian region. That's also because originally I come from South Asia, but also the reason, the area where this workshops is being organized today, which is, as I understand, in the eastern parts of India, Assam, I have particular, attachment and association with that area because my father, who passed away 30 years before, he spent few years in Dibrugarh working there long back, even before I was born. So, and he used to speak very fluently Assamese language, even Bengali language, and I have learned few words from him in my childhood. So I have a very, and I'm pleased to say this with you all today, that I have a very personal attachment with your homeland over there, and I sympathize with so many issues of ethnic identity, but also ethnic relations, human rights, peace, conflict, and so on and so forth. And I'm always very curious to learn what's going on in the Assam region, northeast region of India. Okay, that's a bit of my the emotional side of my talk today, and I couldn't help myself not sharing this with you. But let's come back to the question of human rights, which has been the main focus of this workshop for about a week. It's a very vast topic, but it's also, I think it's one of the topics in social sciences which never ceases to lose its significance and currency in the world today. So in that sense, I congratulate colleagues from Center for Ethnic Studies and Research that you have organized. How important is this topic on which you have organized this workshop? I really want to congratulate you. And I really want to thank and congratulate everyone who made this, incredible, even timely, even possible, but also successful one. When Dr. Dipen Das extended the invitations to speak on this session today, I just started thinking, what should I be talking about human rights when all the participants and resource persons have engaged on this topic for almost a week? So I'm kind of operating with the assumption that you have actually covered almost every important issues related to human rights, not just in Assam and Northeast India, but also the other parts of Asia and the world. So I'm really conscious, but also sincerely not willing to reinvent the wheel today. And I'm not going to. I don't intend to repeat the things that you already know and you have already discussed. But given that I was not present in all 6 days, please forgive me if I happen to mention few things that you already know, which I think would be very important to discuss in this evening today. So in terms of organizing my few words, actually many words, as I understand, Dr. Dipen Das has given me about 15 to 20 minutes to speak in this program. I'll try to respect and respect that time limit. So I thought maybe I would probably give you a bit of a sense of what you could call it stock taking of what's the global, but also international human rights regime is going through, what we have achieved so far and where we are today. Probably in that way, I probably do a justice to this session today, because I might then perhaps avoid the possibility of reinventing or restating the things that you already know. So when I say stock taking, I'm referring to the view that, if we look at the history of human rights, almost 70 years since the Cold War, end of World War II, that's when the modern discourse of human rights, the institutional global international human rights regime started after Second World War. So it's basically a product of the new world order in the post-Cold War era. That's where it started. A lot of things changed at that period, including establishment of the United Nations, and then so many other things followed, and one of them was the new international human rights regime. And the sole purpose of this international human rights regime was to consolidate an international order, a global liberal international order, abiding the principle of equality, justice, dignity, and multiculturalism, and so forth. So that's the origin, and that's the historical context of the international human rights regime. Then the question is, and I want to engage with that question today, is where we are today, what we have achieved so far, and where things are not really looking good, where things are more bleak, so to speak. So I want to actually, as part of my stock taking talk, you perhaps would like to call it, I'm going to focus on at least few optimistic things, and few I hate to use that word, but I would call it pessimistic things, because there are always, every coin has two sides, So I'm just going to focus on the bright side, but also few things that we should really be mindful about the dark side or the pessimistic side of human rights. So let me start with the optimistic side. You know, a lot of good things have happened in the last 70 or 75 years since the international human rights regime started in 1950s. And one of the good things I have ever noticed in my research, and when I talk to people from different countries, is that almost everyone in this world, no matter where we live, no matter whether we live in a liberal democratic country like Australia, or a first so-called countries in the global north, or maybe a kind of a authoritarian country in the south, or maybe a populist nationalist country in the global south. Even if you live in conflict zones or wherever we live in this world, in the last 60 or 70 years, human rights have become so much globally acclaimed and sought after idea that no one ever denies the existence and need of human rights. In other words, what we have achieved in the last 70 years is that the principles and values of human rights are perhaps one of the very few internationally accepted values that everyone wants to actually cherish, embrace, and enjoy the benefit and fruits of it. So, in other words, human rights actually has traveled almost all parts of the world. It has reached to every corners of the world. Even if I have spoken to people who flee the dictatorial region, the dictatorial country, one of the dictatorial country in the world today is North Korea. I have talked to people who fled North Korea, who fled dictatorship. Even people living in North Korea today, they really value the principle of human rights, even the idea of human rights. Although people don't have much idea, information, knowledge, consciousness about, what the rights should be and how it should look like, from human rights perspective. But people are looking freedom even in that country today. Whether people are living in a military regime like Myanmar, or whether someone is living in a highly socialist or democratic country with highest human and splendid human development indicators. In all parts of the world, human rights values are globally accepted. In other words, what does that mean is that demand for human rights from below, from the ground, is so unprecedented in the modern time that it provides hope for humanity. That's what we have achieved in the last 15 years, or 17 years. If the modern international human rights discourse had not started in the 1950s after the World War II, the world today would have looked a completely different world. For example, I can give you a very simple example. No, emancipatory revolution, no social movement, no movement and fight for freedom in this world is possible without understanding, realizing, and aspiring for human rights. The principles and ideals of human rights drives this kind of movement. So we can simply imagine, without human rights discourse that started in 70 years before, there wouldn't have been any modern political revolutionary social change movement. And in that sense, the world we are living today would have looked completely different. So that's what we have achieved. Human rights has changed our world, changed our mind, changed our aspirations for freedom. Next, second. Initially, the idea of human rights started as an individual rights, because we all as an individual human being are entitled to human rights. No one denies that. It is enshrined in the international law. Even if our government denies our individual human rights, we can actually entitled to go to the international jurisdiction and claim our human rights internationally. That's what it is. But what we have achieved in the last few decades is that human rights regime not only recognizes individual rights, but it also recognizes group rights. That's a revolution, that's a change. So what does that mean in practical terms is that indigenous groups, minority groups from all around the world now have a collective voice for their freedom, identity, recognitions, citizenship, and so on and so forth. Even a group, Rohingya Muslims, for example, as a group, has collective rights as a religious group, as an ethnic group. So this idea of recognizing the human rights of a group has revolutionized the perceptions of and the meaning of citizenship, nationhood, identity, and identity movements. And that we have achieved. As a result of that, now any ethnic groups, any identity groups, any indigenous groups in the world actually raise their voice in the name of human rights. That is one of the very important progress we have made for group rights in the world. Third, it's not just about individual rights and group rights. What we have achieved in the last 50 years is that the notion of human rights has been so well connected with the idea of human well-being and justice. And I would like to remember and actually acknowledge the excellent work of Amartya Sen, who was one of the pioneering scholars who actually linked this idea of development, human rights, and justice, for example. So what happened in the millennium, in the turn of the millennium, especially after the Cold War, when liberal international order took off in the world as a victorious ideal and ideology, what happened is that the world tried to redefine the notion of development, the notion of justice, the notion of human well-being by recognizing human rights principles and values. So as a result of that, what progress and what shift we made at that juncture is that before the 1990s, before Cold War, any intervention, in the name of development would be organized in what is called a need-based approach. So the governments, even international communities, were actually providing the support where there was need. So need can be defined in different ways. People did not have rights entitled, for example, to address their hunger for their development. But what happened when this idea of human rights linked to human well-being, we started a new discourse, what is called a rights-based discourse. So today, in the modern world, our health is our right, our development is our right, food security is our right. So our well-being is so well connected to the idea of human rights that without human rights, we can't simply imagine well-being of the humanity. So that's another great leap, great shift, great transformation we have made in the last few decades, okay? So the entitlements of a group, entitlements of an individual has actually broadened. Finally, in terms of optimism, in terms of what we have achieved, institutionalization of human rights has been profoundly progressive, because when it started in the 1950s, there were only few international human rights instruments. The Universal Declaration of Human Rights is one of them. But today, we have 10 key international human rights treaties, and there are so many other other international instruments. Even at the national level, governments have replicated that institutionalization process. We have National Human Rights Commission, we have Women's Commissions, we have Indigenous Groups Commissions, and so on and so forth. So this is a process what we call domesticization of international instrument. So there is a process of domesticization of international instrument. So the whole spectrum of the institutionalization of human rights has made significant progress in the last few years. So as a result of that, human rights is not only just rights as in terms of principles and values, but it is also rights that can be fulfilled, addressed, and protected by mobilizing institutions and by mobilizing resources. And our countries around the world are doing that. And there are international institutions which safeguard those kind of institutional arrangement and institutional guarantee of human rights. So these are some of the positive things that we have made so far, okay? Deepan, do I have 5 minutes more?
You can, sir. You can.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So I want to take, because I don't want to paint a very big grim picture, but there are few. There's also the flip side of this. There's also dark side to that, you know, because even if all the progresses, all the changes, all the shift, all the transformations we have made, and I just discussed about, human rights has not been properly dissociated with the idea of power. When I say the idea of power, a very simple articulation, a simple formulation is that human rights is determined by power. What does that mean? That means the powerful people, the powerful group, and powerful institutions in the world are the violators of human rights. Those who were supposed to, who would be in an ideal situations, those people, those powerful groups, those powerful institutions who would actually be expected to protect the human rights are the violators of human rights. What's happening in Myanmar today? Who is violating human rights of the Burmese people? It's not the ordinary Burmese people. It's the powerful military leaders. Who is violating human rights right now at this hour in Afghanistan? It's not the ordinary Afghan people. It's the powerful people. When Donald Trump became the president of United States of America, he decided to pull America from International Human Rights Commission in Geneva. A powerful country in the world decided to pull out from the International Human Rights Commission. So the powerfuls are not only protector of human rights, but powerful are also the violator of human rights. Multinational companies, they have resources, they are very powerful. Today, the world is not run by, my friends, the world is not run by elected leaders. The world is not governed by democratic institutions. The world is actually governed by unelected few very powerful, rich heads of the multinational companies and bureaucrats, because they make the deals, and that's where, you know, politics plays out. So the powerfuls are, and you know, multinational companies, extractive industries all around the world, they violate human rights of workers. They violate human rights of indigenous people. People in West Papua are fighting not just their individual group rights, but also they are fighting with extractive industries, multinational companies, powerful multinational companies. They are actually exploiting the natural resources at the expenses of human rights of ordinary people. That's happening right now, today, everywhere, all around the world. So the powerfuls are the violators of human rights. And we don't have very powerful international instruments to bring those violators, to bring them, to make them accountable. That's one of the dark side of the contemporary human rights discourse. The second dark side of human rights discourse is that to protect human rights internationally, we need a very functional multilateral system. When I say multilateral system, this is a system of international cooperation, because global human rights doesn't survive without international cooperation. You know, United Nations doesn't exist without international cooperations between government, between different institutions. Human Rights Commission does the same thing. There are regional institutions. So human rights discourse, institutional aspects of human rights discourse is very much connected to the idea of multilateralism, right? But today, with the rise of populist, authoritarian, nationalist governments around the world, there is little faith in these multilateral institutions. And multilateral institutions are under crisis. As a result of that, there is a trend of democratic recession, democratic backsliding in the world. As a result of that, there is more violation of human rights. Again, Myanmar is an example. Even in India, there have been talks that the rights of minority groups has not been properly protected even by a democratically elected government. Everywhere, in Sri Lanka, for example, the Muslims are still struggling. Tamil minorities are struggling for their rights in the hands of democratically elected governments. Today's dictators, today's authoritarian leaders, they don't come from military coup, unlike in Myanmar. They come from election. They legitimize power through elections. And once they come to the power, they actually centralize power in the hands of the few people, and that results into violation of human rights in many, many places. So there is very limited faith in multilateral institutions. And one example I just gave you is Donald Trump, the president of United States of America, which has a history of democracy, a champion of democracy in the world, did not have enough faith and confidence in Human Rights Commission. So the limited faith and growing lack of trust and confidence in multilateral institutions means that we have very few international multilateral institutions, structures, and mechanisms protecting our human rights. In other words, when our government, where individual governments, whether local government or central governments, are not accountable to our human rights, when our human rights is being violated by our own rulers, we have very few places to go, to ensure that our rights are respected and protected. So that kind of international multilateral insurance, multilateral backing of human rights has been very weak very recently, at least in the last, in less than a decade or so. And the rise of illiberal power like China makes these things even worse. The other grim reality is that there are 10 international human rights treaties and many more international instruments, and the number of countries actually acceding to these treaties and signing these treaties has increased drastically in the last 20 years. But and I have done this research in South Pacific, and what my research suggests from South Pacific is that signing of the International Human Rights Treaty doesn't make countries and government accountable for human rights violations. So signing treaty alone doesn't ensure that human rights is protected and promoted. So what does that mean is that accountability only comes from political leader. Accountability only comes from political will. So what happens at the end of the day, our human rights depends on political will of very few people, very few powerful people. Again, it goes back to the logic of power I just talked about here. And finally, and this has been an evergreen trend, is that our everyday life is very much shaped up, very much determined, and very much dictated by our culture. We cannot live without our culture, and our culture is determined in many ways. We inherit our culture from our fathers, our forefathers, our parents, but our culture also changes over time. And our culture is also determined by our religious faith, religious ideology, by our food habits, so on and so forth. And culture actually also determines how we behave in a society, how we maintain our societal relationship, right? So culture in a way shapes our everyday life. And there are certain things that are accepted culturally in different societies. What is accepted culturally in the Assamese culture is probably totally different from how such things are accepted in Punjabi culture, for example, even within India, right? So culture is essential part of our life, everyday life. But unfortunately, the same culture which determines our everyday life can also become source of human rights violation, what is called cultural violence. For example, gender-based violence in many societies, violence against women is actually justified in the name of culture. Culture actually, what it does when it comes to rights is that it normalizes violence. It normalizes violation of rights. So as a result of that, our culture, which we all often take pride of, and we should be proud of our culture, everyone should be, and people are, also sometimes becomes the cause of human rights violation. And to address this problem, no institutions is capable. No institutions alone is capable to address this change, this sort of very grassroots type of human rights violation. What we need to do is we need to have cultural awareness about what rights is, how it should be protected, and who should protect it. So culture, and there someone is asking this question: is culture is it culture or religion? In a way, religion and culture are different concepts, but they are also in a way interrelated, because religion provides cultural resources. Our culture actually receives a lot of resources from our religion. So both culture and religion, both of them are actually being used or misused, exploited to justify certain types of violence and even justify certain types of human rights violation. So despite all these changes that positive changes I discussed earlier, there are so many loopholes. There are so many gray areas. There are so many areas of what I initially called areas of pessimism that we should be really mindful of when we talk about human rights. So what can we actually, how we can actually conclude this? How do we weigh off this optimism and pessimism, positive side and negative side, in terms of what we have achieved and what we haven't been able to achieve? What has been the challenge so far is that no one, human rights, everybody likes human rights, everybody wants human rights. There is no one in the world who doesn't like freedom, and human rights is, there is no one in the world who doesn't want justice and well-being. And freedom, justice, and well-being are inseparable elements from human rights. But we should not wait for our governments, for our political leaders, for our international institutional, multilateral institutions to ensure that for us, because it is also something that we must always fight for, we must always quest for, and we always must work together to achieve it. I think I should stop here. I'm sorry, Dipen, if I take more time than I was given. With that note, with that mixed sort of feeling and mixed sort of note, I stop here. And if you have any question, I would be happy to answer. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Professor D.B. Subedi, for your warm presentation. Despite having your busy schedule, you have given us your valuable time. You have enlightened us with your presentation regarding divergence issues related to human rights. I think our participants have learned a lot from your presentation. So once again,
Yeah.
thank you, sir.
Yeah, thank you. And by the way, I have just, there's my email address. I have left it. And then I have also given my Twitter and my email, and I'm also sometimes on Facebook, which is very handy sometimes to communicate. I have left my email address, my Twitter and Facebook on the chat box. So if you want to reach out to me on this issue, I would be happy to get connected. Thank you.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, thank you once again. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you. Hope to meet you soon. And now may I request Dr. Manoj Kumar Das, Assistant Coordinator of this Workshop Organizing Committee, to display the website. Dr. Manoj Kumar Das.
Yeah, thank you, Dipen. Is my screen
Yes.
Dipen?
Yes.
Yeah, could you view my screen?
Yeah, you're sharing your screen.
Yeah, can you see it?
Just
Is
a
it?
minute. Yeah, it started screen sharing. Yes.
Is it visible? Dipen, is it visible?
Yes. Yeah, it is visible. Yeah, it is visible. Yes.
Yeah. Actually, phone is getting I'm connecting to your phone. Okay. Welcome everybody. I would like to share the website of our study center, that is sorry, that's www dot Center for Ethnic CS Center for Ethnic Studies
CE, SR.
CESR
Yeah.
Assam.in. This is the
Yes.
www.cesrassam.in is the address of our website, and I have the privilege and honor to share the screen with you. It's the website of Center for Ethnic Studies and Research. Here you will get all the details of our ethnic study center and research. The Assamese name of the study center is Nigrosti Odhyan Aru Gobeshona Kendra. And if you touch the three parallel lines that is in the left side of the site, that is in that tab you will get the home button. You can also read the information regarding us in about us option, and the academic activities which have been done by us and are being done and will be done. All the informations will be available in academic activities section, and any information regarding the center will be informed in the information tab. And also, if you want to join us and you want to make a career with us, that also available here. And there is an option for gallery where you can have the details, photographs, details, notices, everything in detail in the gallery section. So this is our website of the center. I hope everybody will visit to our website, will react to it, and will give us feedback for our website. So thank you, Dipan. This is our website. The address is cesrassam.in. I hope everybody will get connected to us. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Manoj Kumar Das, for introducing this website by sharing the screen so that our honorable participant can get an idea about it. Once again, thank you, Dr. Manoj Kumar Das. So now,
Dr. Dipen and everyone, please excuse me. It's 10:30 p.m. here, so if you allow me to leave the meeting, then I would like to leave this here. Although I wanted to continue a little bit longer, but it just time is not very favorable and not on my side today. But anyway, thank you for giving me this opportunity, and now I'm going offline. Okay, thank you, everyone.
yeah, okay. Thank you, sir. Hope to meet you soon. Yeah, thank you.
Bye. Bye.
Yeah. So now I would like to request our esteemed participant to share their views, experiences they have gathered in this 7-day long workshop, and any suggestion if they want to give us for our further improvement, all are welcome.
Can I start, sir?
Yeah.
Due to the network issues, I will not be able to be visible to everyone.
Okay.
So can I start? Is my voice audible?
Yes, audible, yes.
Okay. So good evening to all the honorable dignitaries of the valedictory session. So good evening to all the members of the organizing committee and my fellow participants. Myself, Rupjyoti Das from the Department of Political Science, MDKG Girls College, Dibrugarh. So as a participant, today I feel very bad because this is a 7 days workshop, though it's a very, not very long, but we have been very accustomed with the daily routine of yours. So as a participant, I'm really very fortunate to join this workshop. In my observation, the workshop acts as a very valuable platform to hear all the esteemed resource persons. They have give different kinds of insights into the valuable topics on human rights. I really congratulate all the esteemed organizers of the organizing committee and members of the organizing committee. I'm also very personally very privileged to join the workshop, and thank the organizer really for the timely arrangement of the sessions with good technical support, attendance, assessment, and feedback in very timely arrangement and very timely engagement to all the participants. I have been joining, and for the last 7 days, I really gathered so much of the information. So human rights education, though we have know so many things, but really the topic gave a very delightful insight to these chapters. So in this particular period of this digital world, in this particular pandemic, it is very hard to organize such kind of function or such kind of workshop, anything on online. But one thing I want to say that the organizer have really been very successful in doing so for any kind of the timely arrangement they have made it. Basically, the technical support, it's very good. It's a very outstanding from my observation. So this particular valedictory section, I also am very privileged to hear Pandey sir, and you have also given the so many of the different kinds of personalities, or not different kinds, sorry, very wide or wise personality of each and every resource person. I am very privileged to hear Pandey sir and Professor D.B. Subedi from Australia regarding his sharing all these kinds of powerful talks on human rights. So at last, I thank all the members of the organizing committee and hope to join in such kind of workshop in the future. So I very congratulate the organizing committee and the very best of wishes from my side. Thank you all.
Thank you, Rupjyoti madam. Thank you for your encouraging words.
Okay, thank you.
Is there any participant who want to share your views, experience?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Yes, yes.
Dr. Ansari.
Okay.
Yes, yes, sure.
हाँ सर, बहुत अच्छा लगा सर 7 दिन में आपके साथ रहे। सर ये हमारा 8वां 9वां ऑनलाइन कार्यक्रम था जब से हमारा लॉकडाउन शुरू हुआ है। और सर ये सर थोड़ा सा हमको मतलब प्रॉब्लम हुआ सर हम लोगों को, जैसे हम लोग अभी एडमिशन वगैरह में एंगेज है, बहुत सारे काम है। तो जो सर आपने हमको ऐसा उसके लिए क्विज वाला सर जो आपने टाइम बहुत वेरी शॉर्ट टाइम दिया सर आपने जूम के माध्यम से, तो उसको सर थोड़ा आगे सर भविष्य में सर फ्यूचर में थोड़ा टाइम सर दें, थोड़ा फ्लेक्सिबल, ताकि कोई किसी कारण कोई यात्रा कर रहा है, कोई कहीं मीटिंग में बिजी है, तो उसको बाद में वो उसको फीड उसको कर सके सर। ये थोड़ा समय ध्यान रखिएगा सर, यही सर रिक्वेस्ट है। बाकी बहुत अच्छा एक्सपीरियंस रहा सर। ठीक सर।
Yeah. So please introduce yourself, from where you are and where you are working.
हाँ सर, मैं सर डॉक्टर न्याज अंसारी, असिस्टेंट प्रोफेसर पॉलिटिकल साइंस, गवर्नमेंट आदर्श कॉलेज उमरिया। ट्राइबल डिस्ट्रिक्ट है ये सर, एमपी का ये ट्राइबल डिस्ट्रिक्ट है। और सर मैं पॉलिटिकल साइंस में असिस्टेंट प्रोफेसर हूँ 8 साल से। और अच्छा लगा सर, ये मुझे देखने के बाद ही मेरे साथी और लोग हैं रणविजय कॉलेज से, संध्या कुशवाहा, रमेश कोल, अरविंद बरकड़े, इनको मैंने बहुत मोटिवेट किया था। और उम्मीद है सर आपके हर कार्यक्रम में हम लोग पार्टिसिपेट करेंगे और अच्छा लगेगा सर। थैंक यू सर।
Yeah. So thank you for your suggestion. We will note it down. I will take care of it. So once again, thank you, Dr. Niyaz Ahmed Ansari. So any more participant from Tripura, from Manipur?
Yes, from
Nagaland
North Bengal
also?
University. So good evening, sir. Can you hear me?
Yes, yes. Audible.
Sir, like to share my experience, we are very much enriched with all the deliberation given by our resource persons, and not only the resource person, even our fellow participants. They have done wonderful. Like sometimes we felt dearth of ideas. Okay, while attending this workshop, we really felt like yes, we know something more on what we are learning. Okay, then beside this, what happened was that during this whole 7 days, we really forgot about pandemic. That is one of the positive side. And we felt like students ourselves, though we are teachers now, like we felt very much like we have to be particular on time. You made us like come on time, be punctual. And you were very, very strict, which I really liked. And everything was well organized. And the resource persons were very, very well versed in their own papers and subjects. And I thank you very much on behalf of all the faculties and research scholars from North Bengal University. Thank you very much, and looking forward to your we would like to participate more in your different field of workshop or webinar or something like that in the near future. Yes, of course, we definitely missed the one-to-one personal contact with all our fellow participants. But yes, I request you, like if it will be better if you send us the names as well as the email address of all the participants, so that we can contact each other and help each other in our studies or further career advancement. So thank you very much. Have a nice day. Please stay safe. Good night.
Thank you. Thank you. We will share all the details of the participants as well as the PPTs shared by different resource persons through your WhatsApp group. Thank you once again. Any participant from northeastern states, from Manipur, Tripura? See, we have participants from Manipur, Tripura, Mizoram, Arunachal Pradesh, Nagaland also. So, is there any participant who wants to share their thoughts?
Yes, sir. Sir, thank you very much for giving me the room to share a few words of heartfelt appreciation. Actually, I almost missed the opportunity to participate in this workshop, but fortunately I didn't. And I thank you, Dr. Deepandas, sir. Thank you very much for that. And I am much obliged to have attended the lectures of all the esteemed resource persons. It was very inspiring. And very enlightening, informative, thought-provoking, and comprehensive. We were, introduced to various important aspects, different aspects of human rights that we have not come across in the beginning. And, it was very, inspiring. Again, I would say inspiring, because the way how the resource persons have been deliberating their lectures, life never teaches us to learn, so we should not stop learning. And the way that how they have presented their lectures, it makes me, I hope so for the other participants too, it makes me to learn more and, to be able to deliberate in such a clear manner, vivid way, every knowledge that I have, learned or accumulated, like how the honorable resource persons have done in the last 7 years. And I really don't know how this 7 years have ended. Like, it seems very soon, very fast. And I would say, again, I would like to thank the organizing committee members for sharing the YouTube links and PPT, where we can go, revisit it again for further reference. Thank you very much for that. And in future too, if I would be, I would be very delighted to participate again if there is any such, workshop or webinars or seminars, whatever. If I have the opportunity, then I would be very delighted to take part in that in the future too. Thank you very much once again.
Yes, thank you, ma'am. Please introduce yourself. You are very welcome.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, I was, very, I just forgot to introduce myself. Anyways, I'm Chanchan Wangbun, research scholar, Political Science Department, Manipur University.
Yeah, thank you, ma'am. Thank you for your. Is there any more participant who wants to share their thoughts and his suggestions? Peter Ki wants to speak. Yeah, sure.
Hello, sir. This is Peter Key, research scholar from Nagaland University. Thank you so much. I would not like to enumerate all the good things that has happened during this seminar, but I would say that the organizing of the seminar has been done very systematically and properly. Thank you so much. We have learned a lot. Initially, I thought when this human rights seminar was going to stretch for 1 week, I was wondering why that many days for this topic. But now, after attending this, I've come to realize that we will need more than 1 week to actually understand the various facets of human rights. Thank you so much to the center and all the organizers for this, for providing all of us this wonderful opportunity. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you, Peter Ki, for your introduction. Now we'll go to the next agenda. Now I would like to request our coordinator, Dr. Zogesh Das, to speak few words.
Thank you, Dr. Dasa. Due to network problem, I could not, on my video. Honorable Chairperson, distinguished guests, honorable speakers, all the esteemed participants. At the very outset, we are very grateful to our chairperson, Honorary Director, ICSR, NESC, Dr. Deepandas, Organizing Secretary, Principals of Moidhol College, and all other resource persons, esteemed participants, and all members of Organizing Committee for their constant support and making it a collaborative practice. Already, you come to know that during this pandemic period of COVID-19, before this workshop, we conducted one week online international workshop on governance and development issues and challenges in collaboration with ICSSR from 22nd August to 28 August 2020. The Center for Ethnic Studies and Research has incessantly made a serious attempt to organize a number of webinars on ethnic issues and workshops so that the academicians and research scholars could get benefited by it. It is our modest attempt towards this direction, for which your kind cooperation is needed in near future. How you will cooperate with us in future. Again, I want to say one more thing. During the attendance, we have recorded attendance verbally as well as digitally. Sometimes we have technical errors. No need to be worried about your attendance. Okay, we will verify it very clearly. Okay, thank you. Thank you. Dr. Dipendra sir, now you can proceed.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Jugesh Das, coordinator of the workshop, for your speech. Now we are coming to the last agenda, the vote of thanks that will be offered by Josna Hazarika, madam. Yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Dipendra. Finally, we have come to this part of our 7-day-long workshop on human rights, education, issues and challenges in Northeast India, organized by Center for Ethnic Studies and Research in collaboration with Department of Political Science, Moridhal College, Dhemaji, and Department of Political Science, Morigao College, Morigao, from 7th August 2021 to 13th August 2021. These 7 days, really, all of us, we were here together. So now, well, at the very outset, I, on behalf of Center for Ethnic Studies and Research, wants to extend my thanks and gratitude to our chairperson, Dr. Dipen Saikia, of the organizing committee for delivering his welcome speech in the inaugural session. I extend my votes of thanks to Professor Bhagirathi Panda, Sir, Professor in Economics and Honorary Director, ICSSR, NERC Shillong, for delivering his inaugural speech in which he declared the workshop inaugurated. I extend my thanks and gratitude to Professor R.K. Satapathy, Sir, former Honorary Director, ICSSR, NERC Shillong, who graced the occasion as the guest of honor. I extend my thanks and gratitude to both the invited guests, Dr. Kamal Gogoi, Sir, Principal Moridhal College, and Dr. Lila Kanta Borthaku, Sir, Principal Morigao College, for collaborating with us in this workshop and in making the workshop a grand success. I even extend my vote of thanks and gratitude to our Honorable Member of Parliament, Rajya Sabha Kamakhya Prasad Tasa, to grace the workshop as a chief guest and delivered his speech on violation of human rights. Thank you once again. Despite your busy schedule, you were part of us on the same day of the inauguration, sir. And then next, as we began with our technical sessions from the very day one onwards, I want to thank all our respected academicians who graced the occasion as resource person, as despite their busy schedules, they devote their valuable hours in the workshop delivering their magnificent lectures. Hence, I want to take the opportunity to thank Professor Adil Ul Yassin, Sir, who was Professor of Political Science, Dibrugarh University. Sir delivered his lecture on theoretical framework of human rights. Thank you so much, sir, for your kind presence. I extend my thanks and gratitude to Bablu Loitongba, Executive Director, Human Rights Alert Manipur, for delivering your lecture on United Nations Human Rights Procedure. I extend my thanks and gratitude to Dr. R.C. Borpatra Guhai, Sir, Senior Advocate, Guwahati University, for delivering his excellent lecture on the right to survive with dignity, a 7-decade ignored human rights of the marginalized citizen of India. I also extend my thanks and gratitude to Professor A.K. Mishra, Sir, Professor in Political Science, State Nodal Officer, NSS Director of Higher and Technical Education, Government of Arunachal Pradesh, for delivering his lecture on human rights issues in Northeast India. I sincerely extend my vote of thanks to Professor Jayanta Krishna Sharma, Department of Political Science, Guwahati University, for delivering his lecture on women rights and human rights. I extend my thanks and gratitude to Professor Retired Apurva Kumar Borua Sir, Department of Political Science, Nehu Shillong, for delivering his wonderful lecture on rights of the marginalized communities. I also extend my thanks and gratitude to Professor Retired Manorama Sharma Madam, Department of History, Nehu Shillong, for delivering her lecture in human rights from the perspective of gender and law. I sincerely extend my thanks to Professor Lalring Twangala, Department of Public Administration and the Dean School of Social Science, Mizoram University, Aizawl, for delivering his lecture on dimensions of human rights awareness in Mizoram. I extend my thanks and gratitude to Professor Retired Bimola Devi Madam, Department of Political Science, Manipur University, for delivering her lecture on women rights in Manipur. I also extend my thanks and gratitude to Professor Prashanta Sharma Sir, Department of Commerce, Guwahati University, for delivering his wonderful lecture on right to information and human rights. I also extend my vote of thanks to Dr. R.P. Pradhan, Associate Professor, Department of Humanities of Social Science, BITS Pilani, Goa campus, for delivering his excellent lecture on human rights, education, research and application case of India. I extend my thanks and gratitude to Professor Gautam Chakma, Head of the Department of Political Science, Tripura, for delivering his lecture on right to the indigenous people of Tripura. I extend my thanks and gratitude to Professor H. John Sema, Dean School of Social Science, Nagaland University, for delivering his lecture on human rights in the Northeast, with particular reference to Nagaland. I also extend my thanks and gratitude to Dr. Rubal Padkiri Sir, Associate Professor, Department of Political Science, Guwahati University, for delivering his lecture and presiding the presentation session. And I also extend my thanks and gratitude to Dr. Bolin Hazarika Sir, former head of the Department of Political Science, JB College, Jorhat, for delivering his wonderful lecture on human rights under the framework of Indian Constitution. I also extend my thanks and gratitude to Dr. Nawaz Khan, head of the Department of Mass Communication, Rajiv Gandhi University, Arunachal Pradesh, for delivering his brilliant lecture on human rights and role of media. I also extend my sincere thanks and gratitude to Professor Yatindra Singh Sishodia, Director, Madhya Pradesh Institute Social Science Research, Autonomous Institute of ICSSR, Ministry of Education, Government of India, for being a part of us. I extend my thanks and gratitude to Dr. Padam Nepal Sir, Associate Professor, Department of Political Science, St. Joseph College, Darjeeling, West Bengal, for delivering his brilliant lecture on human rights, science and technology, exploring the connection from human rights education perspective. I also extend my thanks and gratitude to Dr. our one and only, who always remains among us from the very first day of the session until now. He is within us and among us, Dr. Anil Saikya Sir, retired principal, Moran College, for delivering his lecture on human rights and culture and presiding the presentation session today. I extend my vote of thanks to our chief guest, Professor B. Panda Sir, Professor in Economics and Honorary Director, ICSSR Nehu Shillong. Despite your busy schedule, you graced the occasion, sir. I extend my sincere vote of thanks to Professor D.B. Subedi, Postdoctoral Research Fellow and Faculty of Humanities, Arts, Social Science and Education, University of New England, Australia. Despite your busy schedule, your gracious presence as guest of honor made us really thankful. My sincere thanks and gratitude to our invited guest, Dr. Kamal Gogoi Sir, Principal, Moridal College, and Dr. Lilakanta Borthakur Sir, Principal, Moridal College, to grace our workshop. And your collaboration made our workshop more initiated with success and fruitful. Followed by my sincere and honored thanks and gratitude to all our respected esteemed participants who beared with us from day 1 to day 7 and contributed their valuable hours to make the workshop a grand success. Last but not the least, I want to extend my vote of thanks to all our respected anchors, Professor Arpita Das, Dr. Jasri Nath, Dr. Manoj Kumar Das, Professor Deepak Kalita, Professor Suman Das, Dr. Gargi Fukan, Dr. Pallavi Hajarika, and Professor Santi Saya Barua, without whom conveying the agendas would not have been possible overall. Special thanks and gratitude I extend to Dr. Jogesh Das, coordinator of the workshop, without whom it would have been quite impossible to gear up the workshop from 7th August to 13th August 2021. I also extend my thanks and gratitude to Dr. Ashok Kumar Das, joint coordinator of the workshop. Your support and coordination is highly appreciable. Now, my heartfelt thanks and gratitude I want to extend to our organizing secretary, Dr. Dipan Das, who shouldered the entire responsibility of the workshop and tried his level best to solve each and every pros and cons of the workshop. At last, I convey my vote of thanks to ICSSR, NERC Shillong, who permits us to sponsor this one-week interdisciplinary national workshop online virtual platform and continuous support in completion of the workshop and noble cooperation. So with this, today, lastly, I want to introduce myself. I am Jyotsna Hajarika from DCB Girls College, Jorhat, and I am one of the member of Center for Ethnic Studies and Research. So I want to extend, from my side, I am extending my heartfelt thanks and gratitude to all of us present here at this virtual platform. Thank you so much. And now it's over to Deepak.
Thank you, Jyotsna ma'am, for your this offering vote of thanks. And we also offer our sincere thanks and gratitude to Jyotsna Hajarika madam for your warm presence and cooperation throughout the 7 days workshop. So I think with this, the program is over. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Panda sir. Thank you, Anil Sekia sir. Hope to meet you soon.
Yeah. Thank you so much. It was wonderfully organized, and these feedbacks have really enlightened me. I think my thanks also to all the organizers, Dr. Deepen, Dr. Jyotsna, I think Professor Anil Chaikia, and the team of, I think, resource persons, experts, and organizers. It has been a wonderful experience for me. I'm said to hear the participants' feedback, and I'm really, I think, enlightened. I'm really happy that as the workshop has, in fact, helped our participants to understand much better the complexities, the dynamics involved in human rights education, in human rights practice in the country, in the world, and particularly in the context of the market. So thank you so much. I think we'll be meeting soon, maybe in some other occasion. Thank you so much then. So let me take leave of all of you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes. Thank you, sir. Okay. So there is an announcement for the participant. Your a list of participants already there in the WhatsApp group. Please verify it for your certificate issue. And you have to submit your paper that you have presented in the presentation session. It should be sent within 10 days. And your certificate will also be provided within 10 days. So first of all, you are requested to verify your this name and designation as also the address that you have filled up in the registration form. So this, thank you all. Hope to meet you soon. Thank you, Jyotsna ma'am. Thank you, Soikia sir. Yeah. Now I'd like to